Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. Here on this show, we spend 1 week highlighting an up-and-coming North American player. Throughout the week, we find out more about the player's history, their personality, and their playstyle over the course of 6 short episodes. On Monday, we'll interview the player and find out more about them. Tuesday through Thursday, we'll watch a game from each of the various matchups casted by your very own Fear Dragon. On Friday, we'll check out a generally awesome game with some sick play, and on Saturday, we'll kick it back with the player and have some wacky fun with some randomly selected events like handicap ladder matches, karaoke, and dance contests. Each episode aims to be about 20 to 30 minutes long, so you can learn more about the North American StarCraft 2 scene without interrupting your busy WCS schedule. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, this is Fear Dragon coming at you with another StarCraft 2 netcast, and today we have the next episode of Breaking Out, and it is going to be featuring Clarity Gaming's SaroVati in his Protoss vs Terran matchup. So let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn up here in the top left-hand corner of GSL Baleshare Vestige. We have the yellow Terran player representing Team Denial. It is going to be a very old school timer of, I guess, Brood War as well as Wings of Liberty's beta, and even throughout the Wings of Liberty game, it is going to be Team Denial's Kawhi. Some of you older StarCraft 2 players may recognize him. He used to be a very big name, and still is one of those names out there from Team Light. He used to be the captain of it, but now on Team Denial, we're going to have to see how he fares up against his opponent. Spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner, representing Team Clarity Gaming. He is the focus of this week's Breaking Out. It is going to be Clarity Gaming's SaroVati. SaroVati, a very innovative and creative player. We're going to have to see whether or not he's going to use any of those kind of crazy innovative builds in this game here. As Wings of Liberty, he was really well known for this absolutely insane style where he would make Void Rays to force out a ton of Marines against a Terran opponent. And, what ended up happening was the Terran would say, well, Void Rays, I have to make as many Marines as possible. So you make all these Marines, and then you make the push out across the map once you finally held off all that annoying Voider harassment over the cliffs where the Voiders will kind of do some damage, back off, and regenerate their shields. And you make the push across the map, long way, journey across, and you're like, oh god, he has like 6 Colossus. And it's one of the most frustrating things for a Terran player to deal with. So I'm really curious to see if SaroVati is going to do something similar, if he has something else planned. He's very much an innovative player and also a very aggressive player. If you've seen his play, he definitely is not afraid to do some big 2-base aggression or even 3-base aggression. And we'll have to see. His micro is definitely top-notch, but so is Kawhi, man. Kawhi is an absolutely fantastic player, very strong player, and, he is going to be starting off with that Reaper opening. Gonna have to wait and see how this will end up shaping up. 1 gas taken by SaroVati, no double gas opening, so we're not going to be seeing a super duper early Mothership Core, but of course Kawhi does scout all this out. I do also want to note that SaroVati scouting relatively late, scouting with that first Zealot instead of anything else, and this is kind of the same thing that he did in that Protoss versus Zerg. It looks like SaroVati really just prefers to keep all of his probes over at home mining and not really wasting any of that extra mining time. He has probably accounted for a lot of the potential builds that his opponent could be going for through his early builds play. And actually, did you see that Stalker just clipped through that supply depot? That was a little bit weird, but the Stalker is also going to pick off that SCV, which is a nice little win in and of itself. The Zealot going to be trying to do a little bit of harassment, but actually the Reaper going to be able to pick this off. But still, at the same time, SaroVati going to be pretty happy with this, I imagine, just because, hey, if the Reaper's over here, it's not harassing your main base. And of course, the Stalker is going to be coming in over here, getting a little bit back of support, and this Reaper will get away just because it's so freaking speedy, and actually is going to continue to harass this Zealot to no end. But the Mothership Core is going to be the savior this time, watching over that lovely baby Zealot like a good mother should. And now the Stalker is going to walk through the supply depot. Oh my god, this Stalker is a Phantom Stalker from the Netherworlds, and I mean, we're going to have to wait and see. The Stalker is going to continue to harass. The Zealot does end up falling, and it looks like the Reaper going to go ahead and try and get a little bit aggressive over there, but at the same time, the Stalker doing some nice harassment damage over to that supply depot. He's forcing some SCVs off of mining, and honestly, I think that he might actually need to pull off some more SCVs with 2 Stalkers wailing away at this, but hold that thought. We actually do have this Reaper coming in over here at the natural expansion, the main base of SaroVati. Going to be able to pick off 1 probe. Can he get another probe? At the same time, it looks like additional SCVs and Stalkers duking it out on the supply depot, and at the same time, the Reaper managed to get a 3rd kill, and before it actually manages to escape with its life amazingly well enough. Kawaii showing some fantastic control, but at the same time, it looks like SaroVati has been able to keep these 2 Stalkers alive, really only taking a couple of hull damage, and now we're going to end up seeing the Widowmine come out. Now SaroVati has to be very, very careful. He cannot afford to lose this Mothership Core. The Widowmine is burrowing. The Mothership Core is definitely in range of it. The Time Warp goes down, but that does not stop it, and the Marines are able to deal the finishing damage as the Widowmine takes its shot, and now it looks like with no high ground vision, those Stalkers are going to have to back out, but of course, Kawaii not going to be the one backing out just quite yet. He's going to come in once again, try and see what kind of vision he can get. It looks like he scouts out that there is a robotics facility as well as actually a forge down, and that is going to be a really, really nice tell for Kawaii. He's going to have a much better idea of what his opponent is up to, but at the same time, I mean, SaroVati has seen the factory. He saw the Widowmine come out. He saw of course, the starport, and is going to know, hey, my opponent is only just now going to be getting up that expansion. He doesn't know about the 3rd command center, but he might be able to infer it. But the important thing is that he knows that this medevac is probably going to be out, and that there's going to be a Widowmine drop, and you can see this is his reaction to it. He's keeping 4 Stalkers with an observer over in the main base, keeping that Mothership Core just ready to photon overcharge over the natural expansion, because SaroVati knows there's going to be a drop likely coming very, very soon. And now we end up seeing drop is going to be coming in. He now has vision of it. He's going to be coming in with the observer. He should be able to pick off this Widowmine before it does any damage. No damage taken over there. And actually, it looks like most of those workers did manage to get out, and really no substantial damage taken for SaroVati. But actually, Kawaii ends up losing that drop, and that is going to be a little bit painful. Losing the Widowmine, losing the drop, not really doing a whole lot of damage. Maybe picked off a single worker. And with that being said, it looks like he tried to do a little bit extra damage. He managed to get 2 kills on this Widowmine, but not a substantial amount of damage over there, considering SaroVati was able to pick off that dropship. And of course, losing medevacs this early on means that you can't really be as aggressive as a Terran player anymore. You can see he's not even really producing any actual additional medevacs right now, and that is a little bit worrisome, because you need those medevacs so that you can stim up your units, so you can take on the engagements against that Protoss army, because the Protoss army will basically reign supreme until you can get out medevacs so that you can stim at will. Until, of course, then the Protoss player gets up his splash damage unit, and that is going to be the Robotics Bay in the case of Clarity Gaming SaroVati. So we'll have to see how this ends up working out. It might end up working out very, very well if SaroVati goes for some kind of timing push when there aren't too many medevacs out, but it looks like finally medevac production has re-begun, and Kawaii is going to be getting straight back into it. Now, in the meanwhile, I just want to note the really awesome movements around the map that both these players are doing. It looks like Kawaii is trying to just maintain control, looking for some proxy pylons, where at the same time, SaroVati using the Hallucinated Phoenix and an observer just to keep an eye on his opponent. Now, we are going to be seeing this Hallucinated Phoenix coming over here, scat out all these bears, scat out the 3rd, as well as the Engineering Bay. The Engineering Bay, another important thing to scat out, because SaroVati did go for those +1 armor upgrade, or sorry, I should say that +1 armor upgrade, much quicker than Kawaii ended up going for any upgrades himself, so he is going to be leading a little bit with the upgrade count. But we'll have to wait and see how long he can actually keep that up. He can actually keep it up for a pretty long time if he decides to. But we may very well end up seeing Kawaii drop down to 2nd Engineering Bay as, actually, no, he does have, no, okay, he only has 1 Engineering Bay, that is correct. And actually going to be making a little bit of a push out with a single medevac and a handful of units. This is not a very, very big army or very scary army, but this is the kind of army that if it can get into the right position, it can do a lot of damage. If you can also catch SaroVati out at the wrong position. But look at this. Kawaii is just kind of moving out. The observer did scout out all that, but now he just moves back. He's just kind of clearing space, making sure that he's going to be in a good position to, you know, move out and take this 3rd expansion. Look at this. Kawaii actually has Widowmines burrowed in random locations, has Marines ready to scout out. He has great vision. In the meanwhile, SaroVati is sitting a little bit in the dark. We're going to have to wait and see what he's going to be up to. I mean, SaroVati not 100% in the dark. He has been utilizing those Hallucinated Phoenix very, very well to actually keep an eye on his opponent, as well as actually getting some pretty good observer scout placement. And actually, it looks like one of those observers that was on the other side of the map did get scouted out. And actually, that's going to be very, very poorly timed just because now we're going to have double medevac drop coming in. But SaroVati knows something is up. He's going to have some stalkers already positioned to come in over here, but very, very wisely, Kawaii does end up scouting that out. Now, are we going to see these stalkers be able to pick off the medevacs? It looks like not quite able to do the damage, and those units are going to be dropped out. A handful of these probes are going to be taken out, but the Colossus comes in and should be able to drive this force back. Now, those medevacs are actually taking quite a bit of damage. It looks like one of the medevacs is going to end up falling, unfortunately, and this observer definitely paying for itself, as it does get a great scout off on any of those drops that are trying to come in. At the same time, Kawaii is coming in over here to the third expansion, thinking that, hey, I've taken my third, has my opponent taken his third, and SaroVati going to see this little movement out, and SaroVati must be thinking, you know, if my opponent's trying to snipe off my third, I have to be a little bit careful. I need to check to see whether or not my opponent is actually taking his third, and we can end up seeing over here that SaroVati going to be coming in over here to try and clear out some of these units. Takes out the Widowmine as well with that observer over there, but he actually doesn't see this third expansion established just yet. He knows that the third expansion was made, but he doesn't actually see it mining just quite yet, and that might be a little bit of a mistake from SaroVati. We'll have to see how he's going to end up dealing with this. Now, it looks like with the Twilight Council done and Blinker finished research, he is going to have a much easier time actually picking off any of those drops that it looks like Kawaii has really, really enjoyed trying to do. Now, we're going to see this poor little drop try and return home, while this poor Marine also going to try and return home, because that is not a fight it wants to take on. A Marine versus a Zealot never ends well for the Marine. Maybe if it has a backup Marine just to do a little bit of fun, ring around the rosy micro, but not going to be entirely ideal for a single Marine trying to hold that Zealot like a watchtower. So SaroVati finally seizing a little bit more control of the map, and I like what he's doing with this immediately. He has observers position, try and scout for any kind of drops that could be coming out, and also moving out with these stalkers. And look at this, a pure stalker force going to be seizing controlled map. This is because he has that blink research, and now he can do things like attack a couple of times and actually just blink out, but he's going to be taking a couple of substantial losses over those Marauders with concussive shells and stim. Going to be able to pick off a lot of those stalkers. This stalker will survive with the skin of its teeth, but at what cost? 3 or 4 stalkers did go down, and that means that SaroVati going to be forced back just a little bit. He's going to have a lot of Colossus for this next engagement, though, and in comparison, there's basically as many Vikings as there are Colossus, and that is not a good position for the Terran player. The Terran player definitely wants a lot more Vikings than this. Going to be getting another reinforcing wave up to 6 Vikings, and that is going to be a little bit better. Probably wants around 8 or 10 actually to deal with that many Colossus, and it looks like SaroVati has cut the Colossus production, but we'll have to wait and see. Nice blink micro from SaroVati, just kind of whittling away, forcing out stims, and any stim that he can force out is basically damage done, because now these medevacs, I mean, there's only 2 medevacs out. I cannot stress this enough. Earlier on, he was picking off some of those medevacs, so hold that thought. We're going to see a big engagement over here. Blink Stalkers blinking back and trying to tank damage for the Colossus. The Colossus reigning supreme from above, and the Vikings just unable to do the damage that they really need to. They managed to take off the shields off of one of those Colossus, but that is not going to be enough. They have to close out the deal. They have to finish this. They have to make that $1 million deal and kill off all the Colossus if he wants to actually try and take this engagement. But look at how Marauder heavy this army is. He can afford to take a couple of shots from those Colossus, but not that many, especially now that High Templars are going to be in the mix. You can see over here Sonic Storm about to finish researching for SaroVati, and I have to actually really quickly note on the upgrades though, Kawaii is sitting at +2/+1, whereas SaroVati also sitting at +2/+1, but +2/+2 is going to be finished up for Kawaii Race in just a couple seconds. And look at this, SCVs being pulled. It looks like Kawaii Race wants to try and end this right now. He has a bit of a worker lead, so this is a very interesting decision. It looks like he's trying to hit right before Sonic Storm is finished, but he doesn't realize Sonic Storm has already finished. And now we end up seeing big storms going down on the ramp, and it looks like Kawaii Race may have made a little bit of a mistake over here. Just about 15 to 20 seconds, a little bit too late before Sonic Storm ended up finishing researching. But now we end up seeing the Vikings starting to do a lot of damage, but 2 Colossus end up surviving. That is going to push Kawaii Race back for at least a little bit, especially with the time warp on the ramp. Going to make it very, very difficult for Kawaii Race to do a lot of that kiting back from all of those Zealots that, SaroVati can actually warp in, as he does have a decent number of those gateways, with the more and more being added on. That is actually going to be something he does not want to deal with right now. But I have to say, you take a look at the worker supply, and it looks like even with that big worker pool, Kawhi still not that far behind, only 4 workers behind. So it was a really interesting decision to go for that, and I'm afraid that he actually may have thrown away a little bit of a lead, but we'll have to wait and see. He still has that upgrade advantage, 2-2 versus 2-1. He's going to be coming in. He has a pretty nice concave over here, but there's an Archon in the mix. Archon tanking a lot of that damage. The Vikings not really being able to take out too many of the Colossus. They managed to take out 1, but there are no more Stalkers left over. Stalkers being warped in, able to try and take out the remainder of those Vikings, and the 2 Colossus will survive. 1 Colossus very much in the red health, but now we're going to end up seeing Kawhi coming in over here to the 3rd expansion. He's pulled SaroVati a little bit out of position. Can he actually close a deal? Can he actually do some nice damage? It looks like he's not going to commit with the entire force. He's just going to go ahead, come in with a 1 Marine, 1 Marauder, and just kind of test the waters, and now he's going to try and come in over here. He sees that he can get a nice little concave over here, but a nice storm from SaroVati does come down, and you can see there are not that many medevacs or even units left over for Kawhi. Kawhi has to be so careful. A blink comes in, but only 2 Stalkers cannot finish the medevac off, and Kawhi is going to get safely out with those 2 medevacs. He needs more medevacs, so you can see he's forced to continuously produce additional Vikings, though, because, I mean, SaroVati has just so wisely been producing additional, more and more Colossus, forcing out all those Vikings, and in the meanwhile, Kawhi sitting on just 2 medevacs for his army is just not enough. He cannot afford to stim up, and these 2 medevacs are just dead on energy. A nice snipe off, though, with those Vikings, able to pick off 1 of those Colossus. More charge elements are going to be coming into the mix. The Colossus not exactly the best angle. The Stalkers a little bit further behind, going to be picking off those Vikings a little bit late, but a single Colossus does survive. Is it going to be enough? Can SaroVati hold on a little bit longer? It's looking like he's in a good position. The blink comes up. He managed to pick off every single one of the Vikings. All the Vikings have been picked off, and now Kawhi is forced back with against that Colossus and all those blink Stalkers that should be able to chase away the army. And again, Kawhi does have his small little squadron of units over here, but is it going to be enough? Now I think that Kawhi is probably just trying to be aggressive to try and keep SaroVati on the back foot while he establishes this 4th expansion. But SaroVati has a 4th expansion of his own, and the positioning of it is going to be very vulnerable to this little attack over here. But look at this. These units are so in the red and the orange. There is no public free healthcare in Kawhi army, and that is going to be a very difficult situation. A single storm, even a handful of blink Stalkers, or even a single Colossus swipe could actually take out a ton of these units, and it looks like the medevac drop also going to be picked off before he can actually get out of there with even a handful of those units. Looks like at the same time SaroVati still seizing control of that Zellenlager watchtower, but now we end up seeing the enclosing Marauders and Marines very angry that one of their brothers was actually taken out. Going to be taking that out, and of course Kawhi going to have to be a little bit careful, though, because SaroVati now knows that there's this little squadron of units moving out along the left side of the map. You can see SaroVati reacting to that actually, and just positioning his Stalkers, his Zealots, his Colossus, his High Templar a little bit closer to that 3rd expansion. He wants to be able to defend this, and I like what SaroVati's doing. He's just kind of peppering his bases with additional units, getting High Templars scattered around his bases, getting some Charge Zealots over here at the 3rd expansion, and it looks like with that scan, he's been tipped off to know, hey, you know what, it looks like my opponent wants to do something over here. He's probably planning to come in, but now we're going to end up seeing the big army come in over here to the 4th expansion. Is SaroVati going to be prepared for this? Are these 2 Colossus going to be a little bit out of position? I mean, 1 Marauder not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage, but he might still be able to pick it off with this. No, not going to be going for it, and it looks like SaroVati very wisely splitting up his army and doing a great job just dealing with the multi-pronged aggression from Kawhi. And now we end up seeing these 3 cannons going to be able to delay this force from being able to do too much. At the same time, Kawhi forced back a little bit, but we see the continual rally of units across the map. But I have to retouch on this over and over again. We only see 3 medevacs out on the map right now for Kawhi, and that is with 2 of them just freshly being popped off. And for this many units and this late stage in the game, I mean, it's 25 minutes in. We still have not seen either of these players max out, but still, 3 medevacs is not enough for what Kawhi wants to do with this continual aggression. I'm a little bit worried, and it really has a lot to do with the fact that SaroVati has had some great blink control, and unfortunately these charge zealots are not going to be in the same level of control, but that mainly has to do with the fact that they're just trying to do a little bit of harassment damage, not quite able to do it. But SaroVati's been able to pick off medevac after medevac with those blink Stalkers, just never letting Kawhi go unpunished. And now it looks like he might not let Kawhi get unpunished for actually trying to deal with all those charge zealots. If your army's on the left side of the map, they cannot defend the right hand side, and it looks like SaroVati going to be able to take out this planetary fortress. Now he's going to have to deal with getting home, though. That is going to be the difficult position right now, as it looks like Kawhi wants to go in as Time Warp actually goes down. 2 Time Warps go down, and those are some really well positioned Time Warps. These Vikings not really able to do a whole lot of damage. They managed to pick off one of those Colossus. Actually, amazingly enough, they are going to be able to do the damage they want to, and actually Kawhi Rice taking the big lead in that engagement. I thought that the Time Wars would be enough, but with another reinforcing wave of Charged Zealots and a High Templar still with it just enough energy for another Sonic Storm. Is he going to be able to defend this? No, it looks like SaroVati going to be pulling out while he reestablishes this expansion over on the left-hand side of the map. It's going to be a trade-off, one base for one base, and those two bases very, very close. This has been the battlegrounds of this game in the past 5 or so minutes, but now Kawhi Rice wants to shift that back over here to this expansion. He knows that this expansion is probably taken at this point. So he's going to go ahead over here. He's going to check to see what's up, and he's going to be able to start doing some nice damage over here. And only probes really over here to defend. Can this High Templar be the saving grace? It looks like one Storm going to go down. Manages to pick off 3 of those Marines, but that is not going to be enough. Actually, it may actually be enough. Kawhi Rice is just going to go ahead and retreat, a little bit afraid about the army of SaroVati closing in. And at the same time, we have a double medevac drop coming over here into the main base, and we can see over here that, I mean, this is going to be so annoying for SaroVati to deal with. That pylon actually depowered, stopping a lot of those zealots from actually being able to reinforce in, and it looks like this Colossus may actually end up falling as well. That's going to be a very big loss for SaroVati. He needs to get some units in over here to defend. 2 full energy High Templar going to be coming in, laying down 1 storm. They could actually lay down 4 storms, but now we end up seeing another big engagement over here on the left-hand side of the map. It looks like Kawhi Rice a little bit tasked and trying to micro back his units over on the right-hand side of the map. Not quite doing the same on the left-hand side, but it looks like at the same time, SaroVati gains some nice blink micro in. Can he actually defend this expansion? It looks like the Stalkers are starting to fall, but some reinforcing waves of Zealots are able to do a lot of damage to these Marauders. The Marauders are forced to pick up, and at the same time, the drop over in the main base does get cleaned up. Not too much more damage was done after those 2 High Templars were able to come in. So SaroVati doing a pretty decent job at defending against that multi-pronged aggression. I mean, he managed to keep this expansion alive, though it does go into the orange. And, I mean, SaroVati, the big loss is that he has been losing a lot of those Colossus, a lot of those very expensive units. But at the same time, I mean, Kawhi Rice has been trading off a lot of those Vikings. His Viking count has been reset so many times, and so is his Ghost count, as he's been trying to get those up as well. But one thing I do want to note is plus 3 weapons is not finished researching for SaroVati. Meanwhile, Kawhi Rice has been sitting on +3 for some time now, so Kawhi Rice can push that advantage just a little bit. We'll have to see what he can do with it right now, because, I mean, he has this window of opportunity until SaroVati is able to chrono boost out that +3 weapons. Will it come in time? Can SaroVati actually defend long enough, or will Kawhi Rice actually be able to just take this game before the +3 weapons finishes and before SaroVati is able to establish that big lead and actually hold that thought? We have Medevacs being picked off once again. You get a little bit out of position against SaroVati, and he will blink right on top of those Medevacs and pick them all off. So Kawhi is going to have to be a little bit careful. He's once again down to just 3 Medevacs and producing additional Vikings, because again, 3 Colossus already out, another Colossus going to be popping, and this is just such a difficult situation. I think that Kawhi really wants to get up another starport to start producing additional medevacs as well. I think that would be a great move for SaroVati, but Kawhi Rice, but hold that thought. We do have SaroVati pushing it over here to this 5th expansion. Can he take out this planetary fortress? The Stalkers are going to be taking a lot of that damage, but the Sonic Storms really being the driving force to push back that army of Kawhi Rice. Kawhi Rice definitely going to have to get out of there. He cannot contend with all those Colossus as well as this many Sonic Storms, especially considering he is not entirely confident, it looks like, in getting those EMPs off right now. He has a single Ghost. Can he actually get any EMPs off? If he can, I think that he might be able to take this engagement. He does manage to get a couple of EMPs, but not on the High Templar, and that is going to cost him, because we see some big storms going down, taking out a substantial number of those Vikings, and with all the Vikings picked off, he might actually be able to do this, but no, it looks like the Colossus still gets taken out because there's just not enough buffer units, and that is really going to cost SaroVati. He is completely reset in terms of how many of those high tier units he has, although this High Templar just may barely survive. And that is going to be a nice little win for SaroVati. Another Colossus being rallied across the map. And this is just such a blow-for-blow game right over here, folks. Both these players never really yielding in terms of the aggression, especially Kawhi Rice just continuously rallying those units across the map, and whenever SaroVati is able to get up to that 160 supply mark, he ends up getting a nice little force. He tries to push across the map and deny an expansion of Kawhi Rice, and it ends up usually working out, but then he ends up losing a lot of those high tier units. So this is a very cool game to see over here, and it looks like Kawhi Rice is going to be losing potentially another medevac if SaroVati ends up blinking on top of that. No, doesn't end up deciding to, as that medevac does just barely get out of vision range. And it looks like Kawhi is going to be moving across the map for that patented aggression. Again, this is going to be the second SCV pull of the game. Not something that you see every day over here, but we'll have to wait and see how much damage can he actually do with this. We have another reinforcing wave of Stalkers coming in. The High Templars do have some energy. They are going to be so vital because there's only one Colossus out on the map. The Ghosts are not actually EMPing just quite yet. Are they going to be able to EMP? The EMP on some of the Stalkers, but that is not their main focus target that they really want to be going after. And now we end up seeing the big storms going down. The Marauders taking so much of that damage. GG gets called from Kawhi as he just does not have the economy with this expansion taken out. He does not have the economy to take out SaroVati, and SaroVati is going to take this game in a spectacular fashion with the 3-3 upgrades finally finished up. So really well played by both these players. Kawhi, an absolute aggression monster, but SaroVati really doing a great job holding off against that aggression with those Blink Stalkers, with just split up groups of units. And even though he kept losing a lot of those Colossus, a lot of those High Templar, he ended up just having the big macro and, I mean, just multitasking capabilities to deal with splitting up his units and dealing with the multi-pronged aggression, the move-ins from Kawhi, the drops from Kawhi, and that is an impressive feat. So very well done by both those players. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of Breaking Out, and we're going to have another episode. It's going to be the PvP of Breaking Out for Clarity Gaming SaroVati, and that is going to be tomorrow at 9 p.m. Pacific over at twitch.tv/FearDragon64. And of course, if you can't catch that, you can always catch the VODs over at youtube.com/FearDragon64. Those are usually up at 10 p.m. Pacific. That's 1 a.m. Eastern time zone. Sorry guys, it's a little bit difficult to schedule things, what with WCSNA, WCSEU, the Day 9 Daily, etc. But hearts to all of those events. They're spectacular events. But thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Definitely go check out Clarity Gaming's SaroVati on Twitter. That's over at @CSaroVati, as well as actually just check out Clarity Gaming on Twitter, and definitely check out Clarity Gaming's SaroVati stream, as he has a wonderful stream when he actually does get the chance to stream. Really cool player and really innovative playstyle. We didn't actually see so much of the innovative builds in this game, but we just definitely saw some great control in this game. So tune in tomorrow, and we'll check out some more games by Clarity Gaming SaroVati. Hopefully you guys enjoy this, and I will see you next time.